As you grow your business, it's crazy important. It's actually critical to hire the right roles, the right people at the right time. When we don't hire the right roles, right people, right time in our business, it can throw us off course. It can cost us a lot of money, frustration. And I know for me, it actually hits kind of on the confidence on the next hires when we start to stall out. So in this video, we're going to walk through what roles do you hire as you grow your business and hopefully demystify and increase your confidence on exactly who to hire and when. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula here on YouTube and on the podcast. Subscribe wherever you're listening to this or watching this. And I'm going to walk you kind of through how I think about hiring. As I've been able to grow companies into the 8 figures and hire dozens and dozens and dozens of people successfully, unsuccessfully here at Carrot.com and some of my other companies, I've started to kind of figure out at the different levels, what roles should you hire? Which ones should you avoid? And as I work with dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs, that are ranging from $100,000 per year up into the 8 figures per year, oftentimes we make the same mistakes. We jump ahead and hire the wrong roles, which end up costing us a lot of money, or we skip a critical hire that we should have hired earlier. Okay, so the first thing I want us to kind of think about is I want us to think about how do we delegate, right? And I'm not going to walk through in this episode of the exact steps on delegation. We have other videos and episodes on that topic. But I want you to understand, as a business grows, what are the things that we should start to delegate? Because before we can identify the exact roles we need to hire as our business grows, we need to first go up a level and understand, well, what are the types of things I will delegate as my business grows? Okay, at the very bottom of the delegation matrix really is tasks. Okay, it's you're in that sub $100,000 per year, sub $300,000 per year. If we can't delegate tasks, that's where we stall out at $300,000 per year, like we've discussed in earlier episodes here on the YouTube channel and the podcast. Okay, so tasks are the random things. Oftentimes they're the administrative things. It could be your email, it could be calendar, it could be the things that an admin or an executive assistant would do. Okay, it's responding to these things. It's getting your calendar and events scheduled. It's supplying information if you're going for a closing in real estate, or just communicating back and forth on transactional things. There's a million things that might be in that administrative. It's doing your bookkeeping. It's doing the basics. Okay, the next thing up is projects. Now, projects are just kind of a collection of tasks. So as you grow that company and you are beyond just delegating specific individual tasks to people, you might then need to kind of delegate an outcome, a project, which is multiple tasks tied into one. A project can be to launch a website. A project could be to launch this type of marketing. A project could be to build out our property management software platform. The project could be to start up or find a project management software to use. There's multiple steps and multiple tasks. So we find a person that we trust, who we can delegate an outcome to and say, hey, this is the outcome I'd love to have. Here's what success looks like for me. And now go out there and do the work and bring it back. By this time, we'll review it together. Okay, so that's projects. Now, once we get really good at finding people and working with people who we can delegate projects to, and we start to grow the company, we go over 300,000 per year, maybe up into $1 million per year or so, then it starts to be results. Okay, that's where we then need to go, okay, I need to take another step back, and I need to bring in leaders who can manage a group of people, who can take a goal that we have and collaborate on making the plan and say, hey, here's a goal. It's leads, or it's revenue, or it's this. And I want you to now execute this plan and bring back those results, be accountable to the results. Okay, now we're delegating results and the management of the people and the processes to be able to go achieve that. That's your directors, things like that. Up level is strategy, and then finally is vision, if and when you ever want to step away from actually leading that company or being the CEO. Okay, so one of the things that we need to think about when we're thinking about delegation, and if you're watching the YouTube version of this, head over to YouTube, because I'm going to be showing some visuals on my screen that could be really helpful. If you're on the YouTube version, go over to the podcast version and look up Entrepreneur Freedom Formula. If you're on the go, you can listen to these on the go as well. So when we're thinking about delegation, we need to first of all think about it in the frame of those things: tasks, projects, results, strategy, vision, right? But we have to think about it from the perspective that we've talked about here on the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula on energy and the ability to drive revenue. And there's something called the DRIP matrix that I got from my coach, Dan Martell, years ago that's been really valuable for me and my business and my life. And the DRIP matrix stands for this. It's an acronym for delegate, replace, invest, and produce. Okay, delegate, replace, invest, and produce. And so we start with delegation. It's always starting with delegation, which is kind of in that bottom left corner of this quadrant. It's the corner that drains our energy. So one of the lines is, does this give me energy? And then the other line, the up and down line, is, does this drive revenue? Does it actually drive revenue? So the things in the upper right of this DRIP matrix are things that give me energy and drive revenue. Those are the produce or the production quadrant. Those are the things you love to do. And they're the things you want to replace and backfill into your schedule to do more and more and more of those things, because they fire you up and they add to the business. Okay. But the things in the far bottom left of this DRIP matrix are the things that don't actively drive revenue and they don't actively give you energy. Those are the very first things, and they tend to be admin type things. They're the things I mentioned before on the tasks. Okay, that could be bookkeeping. Like I said, that could be emails. That could be calendar. There's a whole set of those things. It could be personal assistant types of things where you need some help with things outside of this. It's scheduling your haircuts or going and grabbing the mail or dropping those things off. And this is always the very first hire that we always suggest as you're growing. Let's get past $100,000 per year, or maybe as you're making some money, you might hire a VA or a virtual assistant, someone who you can hire to do the random virtual tasks that they can do remotely that are maybe 5-10 hours a week. Right, 5-10 hours a week. But I always highly suggest that you hire an assistant first, no matter the business. Okay, it might be a virtual assistant to start, or it could be an executive assistant who's actually in person. Okay, but that's always our aim. Every single quarter, we're going to ask ourselves what's draining my energy and what doesn't actively drive us forward. Those tend to be the tasks or the administrative types of tasks, and then delegate those off to your assistant. Okay, we want to spend as little time as possible doing those. That's why we bring that assistant in early. Now, as we have that cadence of delegating those types of things, then what we need to do is, as the business grows, and let me dive into our business growth levels a little bit to remind you and bring you back to our business growth levels. You can go to my website, trevormock.com/freedom. That's trevormock.com/freedom to get your own copy of my business growth levels so you can print it off and have it in front of you as well. But as you're growing the revenue and we make it past $100,000, where your first real hires are a mentor and a coach and maybe a VA to help you with some of the random tasks, the administrative tasks. Then we get up over $100,000 and $300,000. Maybe we hire that EA part-time 5 to 10 hours a week to really take over your email and types of other things. But then this is where we usually go, okay, we're making some money, but now you have to choose, where do you want to replace yourself in first? Okay, so you learned how to market, you learned how to sell, otherwise you wouldn't have made it to $100,000 to $300,000 a year. But one of those things is likely going to be something you don't absolutely love. It adds and drives the business forward, but it drains your energy. It's the things in that replacement part of the quadrant in the upper left of the DRIP matrix. Okay, adds to the business, but drains your energy. So you want to pick the first thing. If you lean towards sales, you're like, I love sales, I'm okay at marketing, then you're probably going to delegate off marketing tasks. Not ownership of marketing yet, but tasks of the marketing. Okay, you're still going to be owning the strategy of your marketing at this point, but you might delegate someone to do your SEO for you, or someone to build your website for you, or you might delegate someone set up your Facebook campaigns for you, or something like that. Okay. At this point, it's usually an agency of some point, not a full-time employee, because the budget isn't quite there for it. Okay, but if you love the marketing side and you're like, oh my gosh, no, I love marketing, and that's what gives you energy and produces to the business, then you're going to replace yourself in the other part. If you don't like sales, and you know sales drives the business forward, you've kind of created some processes that work, and you're able to transition ownership of sales to somebody else. Bring in someone part-time for sales. Okay, that's where they can then pick up the leads that are coming in and help you close those sales. And same thing, it might be 5-10 hours a week, might be 20 hours a week, depending on where your business is. Okay. So as your business grows around that $300,000 mark, delegate one of those two things, whatever one drains your energy, but adds to the business. Okay. So now as you grow and you get up over 300,000, you're moving towards $1 million. That's where then once again, you take the other one. So let's say you delegated off marketing tasks and you still focused on sales. As you get closer to $1 million, you're going to figure out, okay, do I want someone to take on more marketing tasks to really grow the lead gen? Or maybe I'm running out of bandwidth to be able to build our product and take all these sales calls. And so that's where usually I would add on a person to take on a lot of the daily sales, right? When we're around $1 million of revenue, maybe $750,000 of revenue. Okay. So I can pull up and be lead strategy on marketing sales here and building the product, but maybe I need help on picking up the tasks on some of those. Okay. So that's probably where you're going to really bring another sales rep in or someone to take on sales part-time. So then you can really focus on what's going to take us over $1 million and really start to hire your first few people. Once we cross over $1 million, y'all, and we've got some marketing delegated or all of it, we've got someone helping with sales, and I've got an assistant over here and an agency helping with a couple things maybe. That's where the business is growing, and we may need our first manager. And so we delegate the daily management of whatever part of your business drains your energy the most, but also is required to deliver on the product. It could be support. It could be parts of the product team, whatever it is that fits your business. Okay. Now, as you grow past 3 million and you really start to build real teams, and there's teams of people doing certain things, this is where you start to delegate results. Okay. And what does that mean to delegate results? Delegating results really is about bringing in managers and really bringing in the head of that department. Okay. If you're really wanting to scale up marketing, now you might need to bring in a true leader for the marketing department so you can focus on another part of the business. If you are scaled up sales or acquisitions in the real estate space, then that's maybe where you have 3, 4, 5, 6 salespeople, and you need a director or a head of that department to lead that and really deliver the results. They've got the goals. You need to bring the goals in the plan to them, collaborate with them, and then they drive the results and report to you on the weekly. Okay, now if you're fortunate enough to grow and move past that $10 million a year mark, that's where we start to really need to think about delegating strategy. And this is where you really think about bringing in your first executive, your first real VP. You might bring that person in earlier if you just don't like or don't know that part of the business at all, and it's critical to drive the revenue. But this is probably where you really need an executive in place, a real VP or a real C-level to own strategy in one part of the business, where they truly make that, they take your goals at the company level and they go make the strategy to go make that happen in the part of the business they own. They make the plan and they work with the team to make that plan happen. All right, guys, then the final part of delegation is if you ever want to fully step away from that business and have a self-managing business, a business that truly creates freedom and impact, that's where then for very few entrepreneurs, but you may be one of the ones who moves towards that, you get to then delegate vision. Okay, that's where you might step out as the CEO of the company and hire a CEO for the business. You move to the board, you're an advisor, you set overall direction with them and the outcomes you want that business to have, but then they get to take over vision for that part of the business if you step out of that. Or if you sell the company, they're probably going to have another CEO come in, take on vision. So hopefully that demystifies a little bit for you what roles you hire as you grow that company. We always start with the executive assistant or the assistant in some way to take on the admin roles. And that's the very first hire you make. Like I said, as my coach Dan Martell says, and I absolutely love this quote, he says, you don't, in the early days, sub $1 million per year, you don't hire to grow the company, you hire to buy back your time. And I'm going to add to that, you hire back to buy back your time and energy. All of your things that you delegate and hire, sub 1 million, are all to buy back your energy. Use my energy audit, figure out what gives you energy, what drains your energy. Do that once a quarter. Circle the things that drain your energy the most, and then create processes and delegate those things. In the early days, it's going to be a lot of administrative things. As you grow, it's going to be projects. As you grow, then it's going to be creating plans and doing things like that. And that's where you get the gift of being able to grow through through this business as the business needs more from you. Guys, hopefully that was helpful. Hit subscribe here on the podcast and on YouTube. And guys, go to trevormock.com/freedom to get the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula growth levels and my Entrepreneur Freedom Formula graphic, because that's really what this entire channel, what this entire podcast is based off of really taking you on that journey of how do you build a business that truly brings you and those around you freedom, that makes an impact for what you care about, the impact you want to make in this world. And how do you build a business that truly supports you and those around you and your customers, and it doesn't require you to fully support it all the time. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Share this with a friend that you know is struggling with delegation, and hopefully this can help them pick the right hire at the right time.